When it comes to any multiplayer shooter, there's always that one thing that everybody looks down upon. Whether it be an item, a character, or in this case, weapons and loadouts. These are known as crutches. Basically, things in this category can make the game substantially easier, or these things make it easy to compensate for a lack of skill. Now, I personally don't really care. It's your right as a player to choose and play how you want. But other people care, so let's talk about them.
Oh, my leg!
What happens when you combine debatably the best tactical in the game with debatably the best gun in the game? Well, you've earned yourself one ticket straight to hell. Jokes aside, I hadn't touched the car in like literal months, and wow, I forgot how truly insane it is. It's got good hipfire, a whopping 30 base mag, good iron sights, virtually no recoil, decent range for an SMG, and a pretty fast time to kill. In terms of a good gun, this covers all the bases. Then there's Stim. One click of a button and boom, you've got a great boost in speed, and if you're injured, don't worry. Stim also doubles your health regen rate, so you're probably gonna live. Yeah, if there was one word to describe his loadout besides a crutch, I would call it forgiving. Compared to the other SMGs, I can't really think of any downsides the car has. The alternator has a low base mag, and the visual recoil makes it pretty hard to aim down the sights. The R97 is a bullet hose, and so its effective range is a bit shorter than the others. Plus, it has the lowest damage per shot, but that doesn't really come into play that often. And finally, the Volt. While it may be the most accurate, the important stuff like the time to kill and the fire rate are, well, they're pretty mediocre. And then, while the car seems like it's the quote-unquote middle-of-the-road SMG, it just ends up outclassing all the other SMGs altogether. This is where range comes into play, but that's sort of covered too, since Stim can help you close that gap for that close quarters synergy. This is definitely a loadout that doesn't really require any sort of brain power, so I'm not surprised people call this a crutch loadout.
Oh, my leg!
AWOL, the tactical everybody hates, but at the same time, nobody plays it. Personally, I think AWOL can simultaneously be the worst tactical in the game and the best tactical in the game. At its worst, you sit there role-playing as a sentry until that one person crosses your sight, and it turns out that was the only person you were gonna see for the rest of that shield's life. That is, unless you don't die from a random backshot first. At its best though, you're locking down entire sections of the map, and generally just being a menace to society. And it's in this aspect where some people argue, dude, look at you, not taking advantage of the movement system, eh? Must be due to your lack of skill. And, who knows, maybe for some people, that's true. But I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna vouch for the AWOL and not being a crutch loadout. At least for the typical player. Why? Well, I can tell you after some extended playtime, getting full mileage out of this thing ain't easy. On top of having the longest cooldown of any tactical, it's the hardest to get value from. You have to decide where to put it, when to put it down, and then once it's down, you have to stay completely aware of your surroundings if you don't want to die to a random flanker or focus fire. And that's if you can actually manage to stay at the shield for its entire duration. But all this only applies if you're like me, and you actually prefer to keep moving instead of staying in place all game. If you play passively and do nothing but camp at the back with it though, I'm sorry, but I think that's a crutch tool for camping.
Oh, my leg!
Splash damage can be a pretty hard thing to balance. There's also the philosophy of, bruh, that guy missed. He shouldn't get any sort of reward for that, partial or not. And that mindset right there is why some people view these weapons as crutch weapons. But I think only the EPG here can honestly be called the crutch weapon. Unlike the other two weapons, the Cold War isn't really suited for direct hits, and rather it actually leans into the splash damage aspect. Of course, since it has the best splash damage, it has some decent downsides in preventing it from becoming too much of a haha easy kill weapon. It's got a charge up mechanic, the projectiles curve downward, the reload is quite long, the spread of projectiles are also a bit random, and all 4 shots must connect close enough to trigger a one-shot kill. Basically, you're just carrying around a handheld mortar. I think people are quick to dogpile on this weapon, but I mean, the literal counter is pressing the jump button and not being right in the Cold War user's face. So I don't really think it's that much of a crutch weapon. Maybe against noobs? But this game's been out for a long time. I think most regular players get the grasp of staying on the move. The softball is kind of weird. It has splash damage, but it's definitely not at the same level as the EPG or the Cold War, at least when it comes to damaging pilots. For minions though, this thing is the goats. In PvP though, you'll want to aim for direct shots. While you can spam this thing, the projectile is slower, and it also curves downward like the Cold War. The splash damage was a lot bigger, I'd probably call it a Crutch weapon, but honestly, it's not that bad. Now the EPG! Let me make this clear, this is my second favorite gun in the game, so I will be biased. But I can see why people call this a Crutch weapon. It has a marginally easier one-shot capability, good splash damage, good magazine capacity, and a predictable projectile. Sometimes I like the joke that this is just the poor man's Kraber. I don't really have any defense for this weapon as much as I love it though, so I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, my leg!
Before I talk about the last loadout, I figured I should at least mention frag grenades. At least when it comes to pilot killing, I think these are pretty Crutch worthy. Cook a grenade, give it a toss, and unless your opponent already saw you, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill, granted you don't suck at the game. Like with the Grenadier Weapons, frags suffer from splash damage, and the whole just aim in that direction and boom, profit. Unlike other ordnance, there's really no counterplay if you get a cooked one thrown at you. Electric smoke has a split second before it activates, arc grenades don't kill you outright, so you still have a chance to retaliate while stunned, fire stars also don't kill you outright, but precision is rewarded with a near instant kill on direct hit, grab stars still let you shoot and aim, and satchel charges take a second to be detonated, and they also can be destroyed from distance. Oh, and you can also cook grenades while in phase shift, so that's cool.
Oh, my leg!
And finally, the boogeyman of Titanfall 2, Spitfire and Cloak. Now, Cloak by itself isn't really impressive. In fact, I think it's probably one of the worst tacticals in the game. If you can make yourself completely invisible to pilots, then sure, it'd be a lot better. But as it stands right now, Cloak is good against people who just aren't paying attention. By association though, it becomes one of the most hated when combined with a certain playstyle, and of course, the Spitfire. With the base mag of 80, the Spitfire is feared for its accurate and effective long-range capabilities. And don't be fooled, people say this thing is balanced by its bad hipfire, but those people tend to forget that you have 80 bullets just sitting there. With a decently fast time to kill, yep, the strat is to just sit in the back and kill things. The true terror though is when you get a good player on a controller and you have them equip this. I forget the exact numbers, but apparently, LMGs get a 20 to 30 aim assist boost compared to other weapons, which is obviously not good. So yeah, I don't think there's really much more I need to say about this. And yeah, those were some Crutch Titanfall 2 loadouts. If there's any more Crutch things you want to let me know about, then write a comment down below. If you haven't already, join the Discord too to stay up to date and interact with the community. Anyways, that's gonna be all from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!